I want to start today by looking at a map. And not a political map, with all the borders and the capitals, but a geological one.
Okay.
If you look at that northwestern tip of Africa, you see this incredible collision point. You have the Atlantic Ocean smashing into the coast. You see the Mediterranean squeezing through that tiny little gap at Gibraltar.
The Pillars of Hercules.
Exactly. And then right behind that coast, you have these massive wrinkles of earth, the Atlas Mountains, acting like a shield against the Sahara.
It's one of the most dramatic corners of the world, geologically speaking. I mean, you're right, it's a car crash, a slow-motion collision between the African and Eurasian plates that's basically created one of the most diverse landscapes you can find anywhere on Earth, all within a single country.
And we are talking about Morocco. But I want to be clear right off the bat for everyone listening. We are not doing a travel brochure today.
No, this isn't a list of the top 10 riads or where to find the best mint tea.
No. We are looking at this country as a kind of time machine.
That is a really, really good way to put it. It's a place where you can, stand in a Roman ruin that feels like it was just abandoned last week.
Yeah.
And then you can drive for a few hours and be in a city that still operates on what are essentially medieval logistics. And then you can end your day in a metropolis that feels like some kind of blend of, I don't know, Paris and Gotham City.
Exactly. Our mission here is to explore the soul of North Africa, to unpack the layers of this civilization. And layers really is the key word here.
It absolutely is.
We're talking about fossilized remains of ancient oceans that are just sitting in the middle of the desert. We're talking about the unfinished towers of incredibly ambitious kings. And then you've got these modern engineering marvels sitting quite literally on top of the Atlantic Ocean.
And that's the thread I really want to pull on today. It's a study in adaptation. How do you build a lasting civilization at the crossroads of the world? I mean, how do you survive wave after wave of invasions, droughts, tectonic shifts, and then, the huge transition from the caravan age to the digital age?
So let's get into it. And to really understand the foundation of this place, I think we have to start with the mind. We have to start in Fes.
The intellectual core, no question.
Fes is often called the Athens of Africa.
It is the oldest of the imperial cities, and honestly, if you drop someone into the middle of the old city without a map, they are not coming out for days.
I was looking at the layout of the Fes Medina, and maze feels like an understatement. It looks like a bowl of spaghetti dropped on the floor.
That's a good way to put it.
But before we get lost in the streets, I want to talk about the brain of the city, the University of Al-Qurawin. Because there's a claim here that just stops me in my tracks every time I hear it.
That it's the oldest continually operating university in the world.
Yes. Founded in 859 AD. I feel like we breeze past dates like that, but let's just contextualize 859 AD for a second. Oxford, which is our Western shorthand for really old school.
Right.
It didn't start teaching until around 1096.
So Al-Qurawin had been graduating scholars, holding debates, and issuing degrees for over 2 centuries before Oxford even opened its doors.
It completely flips the script on the history of education.
It does. And it wasn't just, a religious school for local theology. By the Middle Ages, it was a major connection point between the Islamic world and Europe. Pope Sylvester II.
Can't say we hang out, no.
Well, before he was Pope, he was Gerbert of Aurillac. He studied at Al-Qurawin.
Really?
Yeah. And he's often credited with introducing Arabic numerals to Europe.
So wait, so the guy who became the head of the Catholic Church studied in Fes?
He did. It just shows you how porous the borders of knowledge were back then. Fes was a global hub. It was where the math, the astronomy, and the philosophy were happening.
And this university sits inside the Medina. Now, Medina is one of those words that gets thrown around in travel magazines constantly. Explore the Medina.
Oh, yeah.
But can we just define that? What effectively is a Medina?
Sure. Simply put, Medina just means city in Arabic. But in the North African context, it refers to the historic walled section of the city, the Old Quarter.
Okay.
And it's almost always car-free, and it's characterized by these incredibly narrow, winding streets that turn back on themselves.
And the Fes Medina is massive, 1,200 acres.
And it is arguably the largest contiguous car-free urban zone on the planet.
Which sounds incredibly romantic until you think about the logistics. I mean, if you can't drive a truck in there and you have 150,000 people living there, how do you get a refrigerator to your house?
Donkeys.
It's really still donkeys.
It is exclusively donkeys and handcarts. If you visit, the most common phrase you will hear is balak, which basically means watch out. Because a donkey loaded with Coca-Cola crates is barreling down a 3-foot-wide alley.
And it's not stopping.
It is not going to stop for you, no.
That is wild. So the urban infrastructure is literally medieval, but it's supporting a modern population.
Precisely. It's a functioning anachronism. And that continuity applies to industry, too. You mentioned the mint tea and rugs earlier, but the real industrial heart of Fes is leather, the dye pits.
The Chouar Tannery, I've seen the photos. It looks like a giant watercolor paint set made of honeycomb.
Those are the stone vats, yeah. And the process hasn't changed since the 11th century. They don't use modern chemicals. They use natural dyes, poppy for red, indigo for blue, saffron for yellow.
Okay.
But here's the part that usually surprises people. Do you know how they soften the leather?
I'm going to assume some sort of oil.
Pigeon guano.
You're kidding. Pigeon poop.
A lot of it contains ammonia, which naturally softens the animal hide. So when you see those beautiful, soft leather jackets in Paris or Milan, just remember the chemistry involved a lot of pigeon droppings and manual labor in Fes.
I'll never look at a leather bag the same way again. But speaking of craftsmanship, there's another visual element in Fes we need to unpack. Zellage. This is that incredibly intricate geometric tile work, right?
Yes, and this is crucial to understanding the visual language of Morocco. In Islamic art, there's a concept called anachonism.
Break that down for me.
It's the avoidance of depicting sentient beings, humans or animals, in religious contexts to avoid idolatry. So you can't paint a picture of a saint, you can't sculpt a statue of a hero.
So if you're an artist and you can't paint a person and you can't paint a horse, what do?
You paint math. You channel that artistic expression into geometry. Zellage is incredibly complex mathematical tessellation. The craftsmen chip each tiny tile by hand to fit into a pattern that represents the infinite nature of God.
So it's not a factory stand?
No, it's a spiritual act of creating order.
That is a fascinating pivot. You take the restriction and turn it into this mastery of geometry. Okay, speaking of pivots, I want to move geographically just a bit west to Volubilis, because this is where our pancake theory of history really shows up.
Right.
We were just in 859 AD, and now we're jumping back to the 3rd century BC.
Volubilis is the ghost of the Roman Empire in North Africa.
It's surprising to me how far south the Romans actually went. I mean, we know they were in Egypt, obviously Europe, but Morocco feels disconnected from Rome.
Yeah.
Why were they there? Was it just conquest for conquest's sake?
No, the Romans were pragmatists. They didn't expand just to paint the map red. They expanded for resources.
Okay.
Look at the landscape around Volubilis today. What do you see?
It's incredibly green. Rolling hills, olive trees.
Miles of olive trees, that is the answer. This region was the production engine. Volubilis wasn't just a settlement, it was an olive oil factory for the empire. The wealth you see in the ruins, the mosaics, the bronze statues, that was all bought with olive oil.
So it was an industrial boomtown?
In a way, yes. At its peak, it had maybe 20,000 people. But here is the irony of Volubilis, and this is why we can still see it today. It was abandoned around the 11th century.
People just packed up and left.
Pretty much. And because it was abandoned, it wasn't paved over. In a living city like London or Rome, the ancient layers get destroyed to build the new ones.
You tear down the temple to build the church.
You tear down the church to build the bank, but Volubilis just sat there, baking in the sun.
So neglect saved it.
It preserved the layout perfectly. You can walk into a basilica or a triumphal arch and see exactly how the city functioned 1,800 years ago. It's a freeze frame of the past.
Okay, so we have the intellectual density of Fez, the silent ruins of Volubilis. Now, I want to shift gears completely. I want to talk about color. We need to talk about the blue city, Chefchaouen.
Ah, yes, the Instagram capital of North Africa.
It really is. You cannot scroll a travel feed without seeing those blue stairs. But why blue? Is it just a tourism gimmick that got out of hand?
It's actually become a bit of a debate, but the roots are historical. The city is tucked away in the Rif Mountains, founded in 1471. Originally, it was a fortress, a kasbah.
We hear that word a lot too, rock the Kasbah. What does it actually mean?
Kasbah usually refers to a citadel or a fortified quarter of a city, a defensive structure. Chefchaouen was built to defend against Portuguese invasions, but its culture was defined by who came later, refugees.
This is the connection to Spain.
Correct. You had waves of Muslim and Jewish exiles fleeing the Reconquista and the Inquisition in Spain. They settled in these mountains because it was safe.
And they brought the blue with them.
The blue is often attributed to the Jewish refugees who arrived, particularly in the 1930s, painting the walls blue to symbolize the sky and heaven, a reminder of God.
So it was a spiritual choice, not an aesthetic one.
Originally, yes. Though if you ask a local today, they might tell you it repels mosquitoes or it keeps the houses cool. The truth is likely a mix of tradition and, maintaining that identity because it drives the economy.
But there's a real tension there, isn't there? I saw the numbers. The town has a population of about 42,000 people.
Right.
But it draws nearly 1.5 million tourists a year.
It's a massive strain. It's a tiny mountain town with narrow streets designed for defense, now flooded with tour buses. It raises serious questions about sustainability. It's beautiful, but it's becoming a bit of a theme park version of itself.
The Venice syndrome. Beautiful to look at, hard to live in. Okay, let's move from the quiet, or formerly quiet mountains, to the coast.
Tangier.
Tangier is a completely different animal. If Chefchaouen is a hideout, Tangier is a crossroads.
The geography alone is wild. It's where the Atlantic meets the Mediterranean. You can literally stand on the beach and see two oceans crashing into each other.
And you can see Spain on a clear day. It's only about 20 miles across the Strait of Gibraltar. It's the fingertip of Africa reaching out to Europe.
But the thing that stuck out to me most was this period where Tangier was an international zone. I've heard the term interzone used in literature. What does that actually mean? Was it not part of Morocco? For a good chunk of the 20th century, from 1923 to 1956, Tangier was not governed by Morocco. It wasn't really governed by any single nation. It was run by a committee of foreign powers.
A city run by committee. That sounds like a disaster.
It was a geopolitical vacuum. It had its own laws, its own tax system, and very loose policing. This is why it became the interzone.
Okay, so
It attracted spies during WWII because everyone could operate there. Later, it attracted the Beat Generation writers, William Burroughs, Jack Kerouac.
because they could get away with things there that they couldn't back home.
Exactly. Drugs, sexuality, cheap living. It was a haven for the counterculture and the criminal underworld. That gritty, bohemian reputation still hangs over the city.
It seems like Tangier is always looking outward, staring at Europe, whereas a place like Fes is looking inward at its own history.
That is a brilliant distinction. Fes is the guardian of tradition. Tangier is the hustler at the port.
Okay, we've done the cities, the mountains, and the coast. Now we have to go south. We have to talk about the big one, the Sahara.
You can't understand Morocco without the desert.
And specifically, the dunes. Merzouga and Erg. Now, I need some help with the terminology. The notes kept mentioning ergs. What is an erg?
An erg is specifically a sea of sand dunes.
Why the distinction? Isn't all desert just sand?
That's the biggest myth about the Sahara. When we say Sahara, people picture the movie Dune or Aladdin.
Right, endless rolling golden hills.
But strictly speaking, sand dunes cover only a small fraction of the Sahara. Some estimates say as little as 3%.
Wait, really? Only 3%? What's the rest of it then?
It's hamada. Rocky plateaus, gravel plains, barren mountains. It's hard, dry, unforgiving rock. That's why places like Erg are so special. There are these rare accumulations of wind-blown sand that pile up into mountains.
And when you say mountains, we're talking about dunes that are over 500 feet tall.
Taller than a skyscraper. And they move. They are constantly reshaping in the wind.
But the most mind-blowing thing about this region wasn't the sand. It was what's under the sand, in the town of Erfurt nearby. But not just any fossils. Marine fossils. Ammonites, trilobites, things that lived in the ocean.
It forces you to grasp deep time. 500 million years ago, this scorching, dry landscape was the floor of a prehistoric ocean. The tectonic plates shifted, the water receded, and the seabed became the Sahara.
So when you're walking on that sand, you're walking on the ghosts of sea creatures.
Literally. You can pick up a rock and see a squid-like creature that died 500 million years ago. It puts the Roman ruins into perspective. The Romans were there yesterday compared to the geology.
It's interesting you mentioned the environment, because we think of the desert as just hot, but anyone who has camped there will tell you differently.
Oh, absolutely.
It freezes at night, which makes no sense to me. You're in the desert.
It's all about humidity, or the lack of it. In a place like Florida, the humidity acts like a blanket. It traps the heat from the day so the nights stay warm. In the Sahara, the air is bone dry.
There's no blanket.
There is no blanket. As soon as the sun drops, that heat radiates straight out into space. You can go from 100 degrees during the day to freezing at night in a matter of hours.
That sounds miserable if you aren't prepared.
It is extreme. And that's why the culture there, the Berber culture, is so focused on hospitality. In an environment that harsh, If you leave someone outside, they die.
So hospitality isn't just being polite, it's a survival mechanism.
It's a sacred duty. You take the traveler in, you give them tea, you warm them up. Because next time, it might be you out there. The culture is a direct adaptation to the geology.
That connects back to something we said at the beginning about how Morocco is a mix of survival and creation.
Exactly.
You have the Berbers adapting to this brutal desert, and then you have the artisans in Fes making tiles with mathematical precision.
It is a land of resilience. We've looked at the intellectual legacy of Al-Qarawiyyin, which outlasted empires. We've looked at the Roman oil trade in Volubilis. We've seen the cultural refuge of the mountains and the geological memory of the Sahara.
It really does make you rethink the postcard version of the country. It's not just a backdrop for a vacation, it's a dense, complicated machine that has been running for thousands of years.
And it's a machine that recycles itself. The Roman stones sometimes get used in later buildings. The traditions in the tanneries persist despite modern technology.
It leaves me with a thought about impermanence.
We're heading inland to the Dades Valley.
A spectacular place to start.
So picture this. You are standing at the bottom of a gorge. But not just any gorge. The walls around you are just shooting up over 1,000 feet into the air.
And just to put that in perspective for everyone, that is taller than the Eiffel Tower.
Wow.
Imagine the Eiffel Tower, but solid rock, just looming over you on both sides.
It's sheer, rugged red rock. And it's no wonder people call this the Grand Canyon of Morocco. It has that same epic, overwhelming scale. And the valley itself, it's not small. It spans about 60 miles.
And what's incredible here is the geologic context. We're talking about deep time. This isn't something that happened overnight. A river spent millions of years just chewing its way through this landscape.
Millions of years.
Which creates this incredibly stark, beautiful contrast.
Yeah.
You have these arid, dry, rocky cliffs, which look very hostile, but then right at the bottom, by the river, it's impossibly lush.
That's the visual that always sticks with me. It's like a ribbon of life. You have these terrifying red cliffs and then this strip of intense green running right down the middle of it all.
Exactly. And that ribbon of green is the only reason human life could flourish there. It's not just a geological oddity, it's a cradle of civilization.
Right.
We have archaeological evidence that suggests humans have been living in these canyons since before 3000 BC.
Wait, 3000 BC? So people have been looking up at those same cliffs for 5,000 years.
At least. It's been a sanctuary, a stronghold. I mean, if you control the valley floor, you control the water, and you have natural walls protecting you on all sides.
And it's not just humans who figured this out. The biodiversity is surprisingly rich for what looks like a desert canyon. If you're a bird watcher, this is apparently the place to go. You can spot the rare blue rock thrush just hanging out in the cliffs.
Which is a great example of life adapting to verticality. But speaking of adaptation, we have to talk about the people there today. The local Berber culture, especially around the town of Tangier, is so deeply intertwined with this terrain. They aren't just living in the canyon, they are living with it.
I can't even imagine farming in a canyon. Don't exactly have wide open fields to work with.
No, you don't. So they've developed these traditional agricultural practices that maximize that narrow strip of fertile land. You see terracing, intricate irrigation systems that pull from the river without wasting a single drop. It's a very distinct way of life that has persisted, really, because the canyon isolates and protects it.
Okay, so we've got the high walls of the canyon. Now let's drive south. We are leaving the mountains and heading towards the edge of the world. Or, well, the edge of the Sahara anyway. We're going to a town called Zagora.
Zagora, often called the gateway to the Sahara.
And there's this one specific landmark in Zagora that, honestly, it gives me chills every time I think about it. It isn't a palace or a fortress, it's a sign. A simple, painted street sign. And it says, 52 days to Timbuktu.
That is, hands down, one of the most evocative signs in the entire world.
52 days. And just to be clear, they do not mean by bus.
No, that is 52 days by camel caravan. That sign is a relic of the great trans-Saharan trade routes. Zagora was the last stop.
The last stop before the abyss?
Pretty much. Traders would load up their camels, stock up on water and dates, and then they were looking at nearly 2 months of trekking across one of the most inhospitable places on Earth to get to Mali.
2 months? I mean, today we complain if our flight has a layover.
It puts things in perspective, doesn't it? But let's talk about the environment in Zagora itself. The average summer temperatures there hit a scorching 104 degrees Fahrenheit.
104 degrees, that's the average.
That's the baseline. So you can imagine the resilience required just to exist there. But humans are ingenious. Zagora isn't just a scorched outpost. It's home to a massive palm grove.
This is the oasis concept, right? But on a really huge scale.
Huge. We are talking over 2,500 acres of palm trees.
That is massive.
It is. And it's not just for growing dates. That palm grove is a piece of geoengineering. The trees create their own microclimate.
How does that even work?
Well, the canopy provides shade, which dramatically lowers the temperature on the ground. But the trees also trap humidity and protect the water sources from evaporating in that intense sun. Without that grove, life there would be exponentially harder.
And the people there, the Berber inhabitants, they've adapted their architecture to the heat too, right? With those really distinctive buildings.
Absolutely. You see these unique mud brick homes. It's a type of earthen architecture. Now, to a modern eye, it might look simple, but it's actually brilliant engineering.
Because of the heat.
Exactly. Mud brick has a high thermal mass, so it absorbs the brutal heat during the day, which keeps the inside cool. Then, at night, because the desert gets freezing cold, the walls release that stored heat back into the house.
It's literally nature's air conditioning.
Precisely. And alongside that architecture, they've preserved this rich heritage of traditional music and crafts. It's a really vibrant culture that's just thriving in extreme conditions.
Okay, so we've survived the canyon. We've prepped for our 52-day trek in Zagora. Now I want to take you to a place that sounds like it was ripped straight out of a fantasy novel, a village called Enkab.
Ah, yes, sometimes spelled Enkab.
And this place has a nickname that I absolutely love, the Village of 40 Castles.
For anyone who's a total architecture nerd, this place is basically heaven.
40 castles. Specifically, they are called Kasbahs, and Enkab has over 40 of them preserved.
And these aren't shiny new tourist traps. Lots of them date back to the 17th century.
Imagine walking down a street just surrounded by 17th century fortresses. I have to ask, why are there so many in one tiny village? Was everyone just incredibly paranoid?
It all comes back to trade again. We said Zagora was a gateway. Well, Enkab was a vital artery. It was a crucial stop on those same routes connecting the Sahara to the larger cities in the north.
So it was like a highway rest stop, but for camel caravans carrying gold and salt?
In a way, yes, but a very, very wealthy one. Wealthy families and tribal leaders built these kasbahs as fortified homes, as storehouses. They had to protect their goods.
Makes sense.
And because everyone had to pass through, it fostered a lot of cultural exchange.
And they weren't just trading, they were farming. I know the date palms there are legendary.
They are. The numbers are impressive. Enkab has over 17,000 date palms spread across about 100 acres.
17,000 trees, that's a lot of dates.
It produces some of the best in the region. But here's the interesting geographical twist that explains why. We just came from Zagora, where it's 104 degrees. Enkab is different. It's situated up in the Anti-Atlas Mountains at an elevation of about 3,600 feet.
So it's high up.
Exactly. And that elevation gives it a much more temperate climate than the lower desert. It's a distinct ecological zone. You get these breathtaking mountain views, but you aren't baking in the same way.
That sounds lovely, actually. A village of castles in the cool mountain air.
It really is, and because it's a bit more isolated, it offers this really authentic glimpse into rural Moroccan life.
Okay, we've done the interior, we've seen the rocks, the sand, the mountains. I need some ocean air. We're heading west to the Atlantic coast, and we're stopping at a city that is basically the definition of vibes. Essaouira.
Essaouira is stunning. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site for a very good reason.
The first thing you notice is the colors. Everything is this brilliant blue and white, and then you have these massive ramparts, these defensive walls surrounding the city right on the water.
Those ramparts go back to the 18th century. But the city's history as a trading port goes back even further. In the 16th century, it was a key hub for the Portuguese, and later the French.
So that explains the architecture. It doesn't look typically Moroccan in some ways.
It's a fusion. You have local Moroccan style blended with European military architecture. That's why the old city there, the Medina, feels so unique.
But there's another element here we have to talk about. The wind.
Oh yeah, the windy city of Africa.
Literally, the winds there can hit 40 miles per hour consistently. Now, for a tourist like me trying to wear a hat, that's annoying. But for a certain type of person, it is heaven.
Windsurfers and kite surfers.
Exactly. Essaouira has become a global destination for this. You go to the beach and the sky is just filled with colorful kites.
It's interesting how a climatic feature-high wind completely transformed the city's modern economy. But it's not just sports. Culturally, Essaouira is famous for the UNESCO World Music Festival.
Which is huge.
It is. It attracts thousands. And it celebrates this fusion of musical traditions, which feels very appropriate for a city built on cross-cultural trade.
Now, if we travel a bit further down the coast, we hit another major city, Agadir. And this place feels very, very different from Essaouira.
It does. Today, Agadir is known as the home of the largest surf competition in Morocco.
So if Essaouira is for windsurfing, Agadir is for traditional surfing.
Right. The waves are world-class. But the reason Agadir looks different, more modern, wider streets, is because of a tragedy.
The earthquake.
Yes. In 1960, a devastating earthquake hit Agadir. It was a magnitude 5.7.
Which sounds moderate, but it was incredibly destructive, wasn't it?
It was catastrophic. It destroyed most of the city. So, unlike the ancient medinas you see elsewhere, Agadir had to be almost entirely rebuilt. That's why you see so much modern architecture. It's a city of rebirth.
But despite that, nature is still the star here. You've got these incredible beaches.
And if you step back from the beach, you find something truly unique to this region: the argan forests.
Argan oil, that's up as in every fancy shampoo now.
It is, but the argan tree is native only to this part of Morocco. It doesn't grow naturally anywhere else in the world.
And we have to mention the Souss National Park nearby.
A huge haven for biodiversity, over 100,000 acres. And for wildlife lovers, it's crucial because it's home to the endangered bald ibis.
A rare bird for a rare landscape. Okay, so we've seen the wild nature, the trade routes, the coast. Let's start with Rabat. It's the capital, right?
It is. It became the capital in 1912 under the French.
What I love about Rabat is that it has this incredible monument to ambition that, well, that didn't quite work out. The Tower of Hassan.
The unfinished masterpiece.
So the plan was for this thing to be the tallest minaret in the world. They wanted it to be 236 feet tall.
Which would have been staggering for the time.
Yeah.
A statement of ultimate power. But it was never completed. Construction just stopped when the Sultan died. So today, you have this massive, beautiful stump of a tower. It stands as a monument to what could have been.
There's something very poetic about that.
There is. But right nearby, you have something that is very much finished and pristine. The mausoleum of Muhammad V.
The resting place of the king and his two sons.
Yes, and it's one of the best preserved royal tombs in the country. A stunning example of Moroccan craftsmanship.
And before we wrap up, we have to make one quick stop in Meknes. We can't talk about imperial grandeur without mentioning a specific gate.
Bab Mansour.
This thing is just massive. It's 50 feet tall.
And it is adorned with the most incredible colorful tiles and calligraphy. It's widely considered one of the most beautiful gates in the entire world. It wasn't just an entrance. It was a proclamation of power.
It's just a reminder of the sheer scale of history we're talking about here.
Absolutely.
So let's unpack this.
The dark horse of Moroccan capitals.
Meknes.
Meknes is a fantastic place to start. It's so often overshadowed by Fes and Marrakesh, which is ironic because, historically, it was designed to eclipse both of them.
It was the passion project of Sultan Moulay Ismail back in the 17th century. And passion project is putting it lightly. This guy didn't just want a capital, he wanted to make a huge statement. And the way he made that statement was with walls.
The sheer volume of masonry in Meknes is just, it's hard to even comprehend.
I was looking at the numbers and it just breaks my brain. We are talking about 25 miles of walls. 25, that's basically a marathon. You could run a full 26.2 marathon and pretty much just trace the perimeter of the palace grounds. And these weren't just, decorative garden fences. These were massive, massive fortifications. You have to remember the context. The 17th century was a volatile time. Moulay Ismail was consolidating power. The scale of those walls was psychological. It basically said, you cannot get in, and we are not coming out.
It's fortress architecture at its peak. And it's no wonder it got designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site back in '96. It's an open-air museum of 17th century military might. But here's the twist that got me. Usually you think of a huge military city as just a drain on resources, right? Soldiers, horses, stone. It's expensive. But Meknes had this other engine running underneath.
You're talking about the agriculture in the region.
The olives. The region around Meknes isn't just dry scrubland. It is an absolute powerhouse for olive production. I saw a stat that there are an estimated 7 million olive trees in the region.
Which is a staggering number.
Yeah.
And that completely changes how you look at the city. It wasn't just a fortress, it was a production hub. Those 7 million trees made Meknes one of the primary sources for olive oil in the entire Maghreb.
So you have this amazing duality. You have the hard power of 25 miles of walls and the soft power of the olive oil economy fueling the whole thing. It's like guns and butter, or I guess swords and olive oil.
It's a brilliant juxtaposition. It really shows that even back then, military might was nothing without agricultural stability.
But okay, we have to pay our dues. We can't talk about imperial cities without heading south to the big one, the Red City, Marrakesh.
Marrakesh is a different beast entirely. While Meknes was about one man's projection of power in the 17th century, Marrakesh is much older, founded in the 11th century. And it was always about trade. It's the handshake between the Sahara and the coast.
And if Meknes is organized military precision, Marrakesh feels like organized chaos, specifically the Medina.
The old walled city.
Yeah, it covers about 600 acres. And for anyone who hasn't been, Medina basically translates to good luck finding your way out. It's a labyrinth.
And it was designed that way on purpose, actually. The narrow, winding streets provide shade, which is crucial in that heat, but they also give you privacy and defense. If an army enters a grid city, they can see straight down the avenues. If they enter a Medina, they get lost, separated, and ambushed.
That makes so much sense. It's defensive urban planning.
Yeah.
But inside that defense is pure commerce, the souks. We know there are over 1,000 shops packed into that maze. It's just sensory overload. The spices, the leather, the metalwork, you feel like you've stepped back 500 years.
And that's the legacy of the caravan routes. Marrakesh was the port for the desert. But amidst all that frenetic energy of 1,000 shops and all the haggling, you need an anchor. You need something to orient yourself so you don't end up walking in circles for 3 days.
The Koutoubia Mosque.
Exactly.
It dominates the skyline. It's 226 feet tall. Now, in a modern city like New York or Dubai, 200 feet is nothing. You wouldn't even notice it. But in a city of low-rise mud brick buildings, that minaret looks like a skyscraper.
It serves a vital function. It's the visual North Star of the city. No matter how lost you get in the labyrinth of the souks, you just look up, find the Koutoubia, and you know where you are.
And even though non-Muslims can't go inside the mosque, you can't ignore it. It just defines the vibe of the city. But speaking of vibes, Marrakesh is intense. It's loud, it's hot, it's crowded, which makes our next spot so important. The minaret at the Hassan II Mosque is the tallest in the world. It is 689 feet tall.
That's 3 times the height of the Koutoubia. It's a skyscraper in the most literal sense. It has a laser at the top that points toward Mecca and can be seen for nearly 20 miles.
And the scale of the whole complex is just absurd. It has a prayer space of 106,000 square feet. It can hold 25,000 worshipers inside at one time. That's a sports arena.
But what I find most compelling isn't just the size, it's the location. This mosque isn't just near the ocean.
No, it's literally on it.
About 20% of the mosque is actually constructed over the Atlantic Ocean. Parts of the prayer hall are suspended right above the waves.
Can you just imagine the engineering meeting for that? Hey, we want to build this massive stone building that holds 25,000 people, and we want to hang it over the corrosive salt water of the Atlantic.
It was an immense challenge. They had to build these massive foundations to withstand the tides and the salt, but the symbolism is so profound. It connects the worshiper directly to the elements, earth, sea, and sky. It echoes a verse from the Quran that states, "The throne of God was built on water."
And speaking of the sky, they didn't stop there. The roof. It's not just a roof, it's a machine.
Yes, it has a retractable roof. It creates this convertible space.
Which is just such a cool feature for a place of worship. You're in there with 25,000 other people, and suddenly the whole ceiling slides back, and the ocean breeze just floods in. It's high-tech meeting high spirituality.
It prevents the space from feeling stifling. It brings nature right into the ritual, and that's a theme we see everywhere in Morocco architecture that doesn't just block out the environment, but actively interacts with it.
So we floated over the ocean, we've wandered the cities, now we need to go up, way up. We're heading to the spine of North Africa, the High Atlas Mountains.
And geologically, this is where the story gets really, really old. We are leaving the 1993 mosque and going back about 80 million years.
To when the tectonic plates were just smashing into each other.
Exactly. The collision of the African and Eurasian plates just crumpled the Earth's crust and pushed up these jagged, dramatic peaks.
And the king of all of them is Mount Toubkal. It's the highest peak in North Africa. It sits at 13,671 feet.
Which makes it a serious mountaineering destination. But think about the function of a mountain range that high and that long. The High Atlas stretches for about 1,000 miles.
It's a wall.
It is a climatological barrier. It physically blocks the moisture coming off the Atlantic from reaching the Sahara, so you get a green, fertile coast on one side and a bone-dry desert on the other. The mountains are the reason the desert exists where it does.
But they also act as a fortress, don't they? I mean, throughout history, mountains have always been where people go to hide out.
That's a key observation. The High Atlas is a cultural haven. It is the stronghold of the Amazi or Berber people. There are at least 15 indigenous Berber tribes that inhabit these high valleys.
Because the terrain is so rugged that nobody could conquer them.
It made conquest incredibly difficult. That isolation allowed them to preserve their language, their agricultural techniques, and their traditions for thousands of years, largely untouched by the empires that were rising and falling down on the plains.
Wow. It's amazing to think of geology as a cultural preservative. The rocks literally protected the people. But speaking of rocks, we have to talk about the Tadra Gorge, because if the Atlas is the wall, the Tadra Gorge is the crack in the wall.
A very, very dramatic crack. This is a canyon that's been carved out by the Tadra River over millions of years.
The dimensions here are claustrophobic in the best way possible. You have these sheer rock cliffs rising up 1,150 feet. That's taller than the Eiffel Tower, but the canyon floor.
At its narrowest point, it's only 33 feet wide.
That ratio is insane. Over 1,000 feet up, 30 feet across.
It creates this cathedral-like atmosphere. You feel very small. And for geologists, it's a history book. The walls are stripped bare. You can see the strata, the layers of sediment laid down over epochs.
And it's not just dead rock, right? It's not a barren canyon.
No, and that's the surprise. There is a river running through it, which creates a unique ecosystem. You have rare birds, you have distinct flora, and you have people. There are ancient Berber villages right there at the edge of the gorge.
It's a climber's paradise now. But for centuries, it was a lifeline. Okay, so we've climbed the mountains, we've squeezed through the gorge, now we're coming down the other side into the pre-Sahara. And we arrive at a place that I guarantee our listener has seen, even if they've never left their couch.
You must be talking about Aït Benhaddou.
I am. The Hollywood of Morocco.
Yeah.
You've seen Gladiator, you've seen it, Game of Thrones, seen it, The Mummy. It's everywhere.
It has a very cinematic quality, but beneath all the movie magic, it is a serious piece of architectural history. This is a sar, a fortified village.
And it's made of mud brick.
Yeah.
Which always stresses me out a bit. I feel like one heavy rainstorm and the whole thing should just melt away. But it's been standing for over 1,000 years.
Well, standing requires context. Earth and architecture needs constant maintenance. It's a living thing. If you stop repairing it, it does melt. But Aït Benhaddou was just too important to let fall.
Because of the location.
Yes. It was a critical pit stop on the caravan route. Traders coming up from the Sahara with gold, ivory, salt. They had to pass through here on their way to Marrakesh. It was a secure hotel, a bank, and a fortress all in one.
And it's still alive today. It's been a UNESCO site since 1987. But I read they have an annual festival there.
The Festival of Aït Benhaddou. And that's crucial because it keeps the site from just becoming a movie set. They celebrate the local heritage, the music, the history. It reminds us that real people built this and lived here long before Russell Crowe showed up.
And speaking of life in the desert, our final stop is maybe the most impressive example of adaptation. We're going to the Dramala Valley. Now, when I think desert valley, I think dead, brown, dry.
And yet the Dramala Valley is a ribbon of emerald green. It is home to one of the longest palm groves in the world.
We're talking about a stretch of 80 miles along the river, just a solid line of trees.
And the numbers are just immense. There are approximately 1.5 million date palms in this valley.
1.5 million. That is a lot of dates.
It's a massive agricultural engine. They produce around 22 million pounds of dates annually.
22 million pounds. That's just mind-boggling for a place that looks like it shouldn't even be able to grow grass. But here's the deep dive nugget I loved. The palm trees aren't just there for the fruit, they're infrastructure.
That is the key insight. This is agroforestry engineering. The date palms are the top layer. They're tall, they're sturdy, and they can handle the scorching sun. Their fronds create a canopy.
A roof made of leaves?
Right. And that roof traps humidity and lowers the temperature at ground level. It creates a microclimate. And because it's cooler and moister under the palms, farmers can grow fruit trees like pomegranates or peaches in the middle layer.
And then under those fruit trees,
you can grow vegetables, herbs, and fodder for animals. It's a three-tiered system. Without the palm trees protecting the layers below, everything else would just burn up.
That is genius. They basically built a natural greenhouse in the middle of a desert, but they built it out of other plants.
It shows a complete integration of human need and natural resources. You have the river, the palms, the crops, and the mud brick kasbahs all working as one single unit. It's sustainable architecture before the word sustainable even existed.
So we've traveled from the oldest university in Fes to the Roman oil presses, to the blue refuge of Chefchaouen, the spy hub of Tangier, the unfinished tower of Rabat, the titanium mosque of Casablanca, the windy ramparts of Essaouira, the earthquake-proof Agadir, the fortress mountains of the Atlas, and finally to the fossil beds of the Sahara.
It's a lot to process. It's an incredible amount of diversity in one place.
It is. But when we zoom out, what is the through line? What's the story here? For me, it's not just that Morocco is diverse. It's about resilience.
It's about the refusal to be erased. Think about those layers. The Romans came and built Volubilis to extract resources. They left. The land remained. The Arabs came and built Fes. The French came and built their new cities in Rabat and Casablanca. They left. The Moroccans took the keys and just kept driving.
They absorbed everything. They take the Roman arch, the Arab script, the French legal system, the Berber architecture, and they synthesize it all into something that is uniquely their own.
It's a cumulative culture, and it's a culture of profound adaptation to the environment. Whether it's building thick mud walls to keep out the desert heat, or managing water in the Dram Valley with minute-by-minute precision, or engineering a mosque that can handle the direct spray of the Atlantic Ocean. They don't fight the environment, they engineer a way to live within its constraints.
And that leads me to a final thought. We stood, virtually, in Volubilis, the Roman city. It feels like a graveyard of ambition. We stand in Casablanca today looking at that massive 689-foot minaret. It feels permanent. But is it?
That is the ultimate question the desert always asks. Down in the south, there are rock carvings, petroglyphs, that date back 12,000 years, and they show giraffes and elephants and rhinos.
Wait, giraffes? In the Sahara?
Yes, because 12,000 years ago, the Sahara was a green savanna. It was grassland. The climate changed radically, and the people who lived there had to adapt or move.
So the environment is the ultimate ruler. Empires, sultans, they're all just tenants.
Precisely. We build our towers, we write our laws, we draw our borders on maps, but the tectonic plates keep moving, the climate keeps shifting, and the sand keeps blowing. Morocco teaches you that survival isn't about being rigid, it's about being fluid. It's about layering the new on top of the old and always, always keeping what works.
A pretty humbling lesson from the edge of the continent. If you ever get the chance to visit, don't just look at the blue walls or the beautiful tiles. Look at the foundations. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.
Keep exploring.